Okay, we're going live. Sorry for the delay. We had a problem with the camera. The camera ceased to work, and so I unplugged it from the back of the computer and plugged it in to the front of the computer, and it seems to be okay today. Let's make sure we've got sound. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, hello everybody. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with another Thursday live stream. And we are at Thursday 7 p.m. U.S. Mountain Standard Time. I'm sorry, wrong. U.S. Mountain Daylight Time. And it is 0046 UTC, so it is already tomorrow in London. The British summertime will be starting relatively soon. I think the U.S. pretty much jumps the gun on everybody. I don't know why we have to do that, but we do. I prefer daylight savings time just because we've got more light in the evening. It's still very light outside right now. Okay. Whew. So I was crawling under the computer, playing with cables, trying to get this thing to work. I have a feeling that if I just plug it back in there and reboot the computer, it'll probably work fine. All right, so let's see. I've been sending out QSL cards, and I've been actually putting an address in them. So I'm working kind of backwards. I've got a bunch left to go here where I need to look up the addresses and put the addresses on the back. And I'm going to have to get some more postcard stamps. There is something called a postcard forever stamp. You pay the postcard rate. It's not all that much less than the first class rate. I mean, the days of the penny post are long gone. I actually have in my collection some postcards that are 3 cents. They're already marked with postage being 3 cents. I don't think you'd get very far with one of those today. They didn't have the concept back then of forever stamps. So, what's been happening here? Well, I've been actually trying to answer some of the comments. There are a lot of comments. I'd like to do that. I'd like to do that more. I just have to have the energy to do that. I'm at the point where, you know, what I can do is what I can do. Tomorrow, my assistant is coming. We're going to try and get some charts done and get some of these reviews done. I've got this Retivus Islands HD2, which just arrived. I've got this Talk Pod A36 Plus ham version that is going to be available about now. And then there's this TID radio that I've got. I've tested the TID radio and the Talk Pod, and both of them seem to have, I'll call it acceptable spurious responses on transmit. So I think we can go ahead with that. And of course, we've got a bunch of questions to answer and so on. Had an interesting experience with my column. I turned in a column, and the tech reviewer, I asked when I signed up for this to have a peer review of my column every month. And the peer review said, no, you're absolutely completely wrong. So it was a different peer reviewer. So we got that straightened out, and I admit I was wrong. This guy, and I don't have his name in front of me, had an experience where he had an old-fashioned, basically an A3, which is a 3-element trapped beam for 20, 15, and 10. And he discovered that although the antenna seemed to be beautifully tuned, if he added coax to it, the SWR would change. And I came up with an explanation that upon further reflection, was wrong. The SWR is based on the reflection coefficient. It can be determined from other parameters too, all mathematically identical, but the reflection coefficient is just that, a number, a unitless number, as a matter of fact. It's just the percentage of power that is reflected back toward the source. And if you do a few mathematical oddities with that, you get SWR. Now, the reflection coefficient is a scalar. It's a certain percentage, and it's based on taking the phase angles out of the picture and just looking at the voltage of the reflected versus the voltage of the forward in RMS voltages, and forget the phase angle. Now, SWR does not have a phase angle. It also is a scalar, unitless, and it's just a ratio. And it's a ratio that's very easy to measure. Therefore, it's a popular one. You don't have to know anything about complex algebra to deal with SWR. When your SWR is good, it's good. And it is actually an important parameter for the operation of your transceiver. It keeps the transceiver happy. Now, I guess happiness is a unitless quantity. Anyway, I said that when you add feed line, you're transferring the impedance. And he said, yes, that's true. You're changing the impedance, but the reflection coefficient. Now, the reflection coefficient, if you really get technical now, okay, really get technical, it has a magnitude and a phase angle. Most people ignore the phase angle. The magnitude and the phase angle. Now, when you take the absolute value of it in the SWR equation, phase angle goes away. So, yes, there is technically a phase angle there. SWR does not have a phase angle. And what he pointed out to me is that the reflection coefficient is constantly changing direction, depending on where you are in the transmission line, but that the absolute value stays the same. Okay, so it's going to inscribe constant SWR circles in a Smith chart. He introduced me to a piece of software called Transmission Line for Windows, TLW. It is packaged with the ARRL antenna book. I've never played with it. So I have played with it now, and it's just quite fascinating to play with. So something that we can look up. Anyway, back to the guy's question. What this John, the reviewer, was coming up with was there very well could be some problems with common mode current. If the common mode current was getting back and into the SWR meter, then that could cause the SWR to change, because the common mode current has a phase angle to it too. So in any event, I have always assumed that people ground their cables at a lightning arrestor before they come into the house. And if he had done that, adding a little extra cable in the house shouldn't do anything as far as SWR is concerned. But he was. So I'll go back and take another look at that. In the meantime, for I think it's the April issue, we decided to go ahead and put a different question in there while I mull how best to explain it. John, it was correct in what he had to say, but it was certainly not my writing style. So I want to take a good look at it, convince myself it's perfect, and then put it in my writing style, and we'll go from there. They only used 2 of the 4 questions that I sent to them. So we'll see how that goes. I think I just submitted May's. I don't know. We're coming up. It's amazing. It's weird. You're about 3 months ahead, so you're a full season ahead. So when I'm writing in the dead of winter, you'll be reading it in springtime. What I write in spring, you'll read in the summer, and so on. It's just the way magazines work. They take and these people, I got to tell you, the ARRL people are running flat out to get QST ready, properly edited, of high quality, and so on, and get it out. It's really pretty seldom that you see, you do, in every issue you'll see what they call a stray. A little note down at the bottom of some article that says, oh, by the way, on this other guy's article, it should be R30, not R29, or something like that. One other thing that happens that I think they need to think about a little more is if there is an error discovered in the print edition, they will fix the online edition. I think they should flag that fix so that people will know, oh, this is flagged as a fix. You know, so my print edition is going to be wrapping up a little bit behind that. Let's see what else is going on. We're going to, again tonight, do the, we'll see, I don't know what kind of condition 40 meters is in. And then we'll see if we can continue. I'd like to start a little earlier on that, maybe 7:45 to 8, so we have a little bit more time doing that, because I hate to leave people at the end that I haven't talked to, so we'll see what we can do. My approach at this point, I won't call it a policy because I have no policy setting authority, so my approach is that I will send a QSL card to everyone I talk to. And I've gotten several cards from people that I've talked to, and I just want to say I really appreciate that. It's a little bit like Christmas when you get a QSL card in the mail, so that's very nice. Okay. Hi, let's see, this is Optical Man Jeff. Oh, first of all, I need to thank Von Ziegel for $10 into the chat revenue. Thank you very, very much. We also have Makita Brooks, who has put 10 pounds into the chat revenue, and Google will take care of the conversion of that automatically. And thank you very much. By the way, it looks like I am going to Dayton this year, which is in May, mid-May. And we now have another RV, okay? We sold that one, and we decided that we were premature in selling that RV, that we really weren't ready to get out of the RV business. So this one that we purchased was a rental unit, and it is spotless. Because what they do in the rental business, people who rent RVs want them to be spotless. And so I know people have approached me about renting my RV. And basically what it comes down to is I spend my life cleaning it. But this thing is definitely spotless. I mean, it's just gorgeous throughout. Everything looks like it's new. The mattress pad looks like it's a probably one of those memory foam things. Now, usually in RVs that have queen beds, which this one does, the queen bed is short. Normally they're 60 by 80 inches. 60 by 70 is the norm in most RVs. Now, I'm 5'4", so that's plenty of room for me, actually. But this particular RV has a full-size queen. A full-size queen. That's not a full-size, a queen size, a real queen size bed. So that'll be nice. We'll have just a little bit more room for our toes. I'm toying with the idea of having somebody drive with me, with us, and we'll shelter them in the RV and pay their entry to Dayton and so on. I don't know if my assistant will be able to do that, but you know, there might be somebody who could go along who could help with the driving chores and the campground setup and tear down. That would be very nice. So once we get to Dayton, we got to find a place to put it. Somebody volunteered to help last year with a place that we could put and sleep in. our RV, but I am on the wait list for the Dayton RV park, but I have been on that list for a couple of years now, and it's never come through. So we'll see what happens. They do have a place where you can park RVs and not use them, but we can, for the 3 days of Dayton, boondock. Now, boondock in RV terms means no utilities, no nothing. You're out there by yourself. And you have to carry your own water in and the bad water out. And that you can charge your own batteries or whatever. I'm going to put some solar panels on this one. And, if I park in somebody's yard, I can promise them it would be nice if they could give me a little electricity just to keep the batteries powered. But otherwise, I will make no demands of any kind. I won't need to dump. I won't need to get water or anything like that. I can be a pretty ghostly intruder. Now, it's my understanding that there are a lot of other things that go on during Dayton Week, so I want to find out a little bit more about them. But that brings me back around to what I wanted to say. Thank you to those who are adding to the channel funds, because it's those that pay for the trip to Dayton and back. And I'm going down to speak in Albuquerque. Not Albuquerque. Like I said, that I did that wrong last week too. Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm going to speak at a Hamfest. I'm going to speak at a Hamfest in Longmont, but I will probably do that by Zoom, something like that. Because there's really no RV park near there. There is an RV park at the fairgrounds, which is where the Hamfest is being held. But there's no guarantees. You can't make reservations. And so if I were to get there and find that I can't park there, I don't know where I'd go. We'd have to find an RV campsite, which could be quite a ways away. This is the problem with Dayton. Dayton's a big city. Big cities tend not to have RV parks. And so we would have to stay at the Dayton KOA, which is way to the west of town, or there's another KOA to the south of town, and that's it. There's a couple of state park campsites, but again, no reservations. So I'd like to be sure that I have a place to stay when I get there. I don't know if I'll rent a little mobility scooter this year or not. We'll see. I'll do the first day and we'll see how that goes. So my plan is to do the round of the vendors the first day. So the second day at some point, the round of the flea market. And then the third day, I'll probably bring my wife back and we'll do more vendors. A lot of the vendors start packing up early on Sundays. It's supposed to be a 3-day Hamfest. It's really about a 2.3-day Hamfest. Okay, let's take a look. Optical Man Jeff. Hi, Dave and all Augies from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it's 42 degrees and cloudy. It is 52 degrees here, partly cloudy, with 37% relative humidity. Okay, Chip Weekly, W3BEW. Good evening, Dave and fellow Augies from beautiful Smoky Mountains of western North Carolina. Very nice spring evening. Partly cloudy, 59 degrees with light breeze. It does sound very nice. Glenn Martin. Hello, Glenn. Hello from far west Missouri. 52 degrees Fahrenheit and 18% relative humidity. Mark Leathers. Hello from central Missouri, Route 66. Route 66, now you got to kind of be our age to know what the deal is about Route 66. Route 66 was the original U.S. highway from Chicago to Los Angeles, back before the days of freeways and interstates. And most of the way it was a 2-lane road, and it went through some of the most desolate parts of the country to get there. There are sections of the original 66 that are open. There's one from Victorville up to Barstow that I went on one time. Out in California, they've got the little gullies in the desert and so on. Rather than build a straight road, which would involve moving dirt, they just build the pavement, right, to follow those little wigglies like that. And if there's any kind of a cloudburst, it's going to flood. And there are still places in California. A couple of years ago, we drove from Blythe down to Indio in California. And there it was, boom, kaboom, kaboom. And they've got this dotted yellow line down the middle of it. And I'll tell you what, I'm not sure I would want to pass in there, even though the line is broken, because I don't know what's in those little gullies. I can't tell. So just play it safe. Anyway, that's Route 66, loomed big in the American imagination. But as the people who've ever traveled it have died off or faded away, you say Route 66, so what? But it was a very important roadway, and for whatever reason, was important in the American psyche. And you can still find old original hotels and motels, mostly motels, and stuff like that there as tourist sites. It'd be really hard to drive the whole thing because it's been cut up and chopped up so much to put in freeways and so on. Okay, let's see. Neil Marsh, greetings from W7NRM, Mount St. Helens country. Mark Leathers, hey Dave, what is an Augie? Well, it is one of two things. It's either a Cornish pastry from Cornwall in England, or in our case, if you look up here at the big OG, that's the last two letters of my call sign. Now, YouTube said I needed a logo, and they provide a square space down in the lower, where is my finger? Here it is. They provide a space right there for the logo, and it has to be square. Well, I made it round. I tried putting my whole call sign in there, and it just disappeared into nothingness. So I just used the last two letters, and oh gee, why not put an exclamation point on that? Anyway, YouTube said we should have a name for our followers. And different people have different names. For example, there's a absolutely wonderful YouTube channel called the Hoof GP. He's a hoof trimmer by trade, and he's in Scotland, and he puts together a pretty good little show. And he calls his followers the herd, as in cows. Well, I came up with this absolutely, and you can tell how fantastically brilliant this is, this absolutely obvious idea of calling the subscribers to this channel Augies. Okay, and I've got Augies from literally all over the world, so that's why I always start with hello Augies worldwide. So if you subscribe to this channel, you're an Augie. And I know you think A-U-G-G-I-E as in Texas A&M, but this is O-G-G-I-E, Augie. And again, an O-G-I-E is a Cornish pastry. I had no idea. I couldn't find anything on the internet to see if somebody else was using the name. But somebody pointed out to me it's Cornish pastry. I'll have to put that on my bucket list to go to Cornwall in England and have an Augie. So let's see. That's what Augies are. Neil Marsh, Mark Leathers, you are by virtue of being here. It's based on the OG, Dave's call sign. Well, thank you. I just saw the OG on the opening page. Yeah. Leo, howdy Dave and everybody. Leo, KK7CLY. Checking in from Albany, Oregon. Last sunny day for about a week. I got ham clock working today. All right, with the kind help of my wife. Well, do the dishes for her an extra day or something. That is good. Or maybe she would like to spend more time with the ham station. Chuck Schreiber, good evening, Dave and all Augies. And 5 KVO from the hail country of South Texas, currently cloudy and 64. Leo says, for anyone else that may have a connectivity issue with that dingus, I found that Wi-Fi from an Android phone is out, but it functions perfectly when USB tethering. What a relief. Well, very good. Okay, there's the Federal Trade Commission. I saw it on the news tonight. Issued some sort of a legal barrage at Apple, saying that Apple had a monopoly in telephones. And the at issue is the inability or difficulty of texting between Android and Apple phones. I always thought a text was a text, it's SMS, but not in the Apple world. It's Apple whatever. It's got to be Apple something. So anyway, they got issued this. Apple immediately issued a nasty statement saying, get out of our way, you mere government cretin. And so anyway, the battle has been engaged over whether or not Apple is a monopoly. The last time we had a big monopoly thing was with AT&T, which I remember because I was just out of the Air Force when it happened. AT&T at one point had a monopoly on long lines in the United States. And it had a monopoly in the areas that it served. You couldn't call up one or two telephone companies and get telephone service. The copper was owned by either Beltel or the local, it was usually General Telephone. There were still, even then, some little mom and pop telephone providers that still did things with a switchboard. Sorry. Just a moment here. Let me... Humph, I don't like that. I did go see the doctor today, and he did give me some more little pills to take. Okay. Anyway, good. I'm glad that works for you. Leo also made a little progress on repairing my buddy pole hex beam. Good. That's a big, hairy old thing, and it really isn't designed to be put up and left up. It's designed to be put up in a portable configuration and taken down. Madison County Sound Labs. Good evening, Dave and everyone. Best wishes from N1XV. Ham Radio Explorer. Dave, can you address the questions in the comments on your 120 volt versus 12 volt video you posted recently? I don't know. Let's go here to Studio and go to comments, and let's see, we want to go down. This is the US is 240 volt. Well, we just split it in half at the breaker box. Yeah, that's a standard kind of a thing. Nothing particularly special there. It's not two-phase, it's split-phase. And they've got the neutral in the middle, and it is also grounded at every pole and grounded at your entry panel. And we use it for things like dryers, or more particularly, things like amplifiers. I was coming here to comment, but it's all been said, Dave. Let's just go to that one. Plug a DC to DC converter into the wall and watch the smoke. The wall is AC. Okay. Well, a DC to DC converter is what you're getting. Now, what happens in the DC to DC converter, or the switching power supply, is that it takes very, very quick switches of that and sends it through a small transformer. Remember, the higher the frequency, the smaller the transformer. And then that is converted to the DC you want, then it is heavily filtered and sent on about. As far as the green wire to the black wire, I've tested that on 2 or 3 different power supplies, and yes, if you use a ground rod on your radio, then the green wire would connect to an additional ground rod, not per U.S. Electric Code. Well, as I mentioned, you should have your station ground, and there's a deer out there, and the station ground and your utility ground should be bonded together, meaning electrically connected. And if you did that, you will not have that problem. Most modern power supplies have an isolation transformer. No, that's not true, because an isolation transformer would imply a 60 hertz transformer, and the power supplies do not have that. These immediately start splitting the power at about a 50 kilohertz rate and chopping it so that it will go through the small transformer that it has in it and then come out on the other side. So you've got your AC coming in, being full wave rectified, slightly smoothed, chopped up to go through the transformer, and then on the other side, rectified again, because it's AC at that point, again, rectified again, and then filtered, smoothed, and sent out to where it needs to be. And there are control circuits in there to make sure that the voltage stays about constant as you change the load drastically. That's one of the things we don't talk about enough on ham radio power supplies, is that they have to instantly respond to very broad, wide swings in load, and very broad swings in load. Well, let me just pull this up here so it's going to fit. Okay, and then it's rectified again and sent on out. I suppose I should do Bobby Nichols. Oh my goodness. I just heard today that my Explorer Post advisor when I was a teenager passed away today at the age of 91. And he was a major influence in my teenage life. I'm very sorry to hear that, but I'm sure he's going to a better place. Most modern power supplies have an isolation transformer. No. The AC is rectified, yes, immediately, and then regulated. No, it's got to go through that transformer to get converted down to the voltage that you want. It may be easier to just say that modern power supplies are quite efficient. They are. If you've ever seen the size of a transformer in a linear power supply, they're huge. There's no place in a modern switching supply to put a transformer that big. And that's the whole point, because that transformer is the major expense. Please check your math. Power in watts equals volts times amps times the phase angle. Dave, this is so bad. 2 amps times 120 volts. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. It's not an AC to DC converter. It's a switching power supply, which I should have said. Okay, I'll go back and look at it, and if I think it sucks, I'll just redo it. If I think I'm merely being misunderstood, then I won't. So, and it happens. I have had videos that I've had to take down because I made egregious errors. And if I made that egregious error, then I need to get that fixed. My only defense is that I had a bad cold at the time, but that is no defense because it should be put up correctly. Okay, so we'll go through that. There are losses in there, but the power comes in. It doesn't go through a transformer, but it's rectified into pulsating DC and then filtered somewhat, like one capacitor. And then you get the chopper circuit, okay? And that circuit is toggling that voltage at about 50 kilohertz, give or take 25 kilohertz, okay? And then that's AC, and it's at a pretty high frequency, so it goes through a small transformer that will bring the voltage down or up, as the case may be. The one, oh, well, no, that's just DC. And then it comes off of that. It is again rectified, full wave rectified, to create pulsating DC at the new voltage. And then it is filtered. And if it's a ham radio power supply, it's filtered like crazy so that none of those switching transients get out and go into your radio. So no, there's not an isolation transformer. That's the whole point. It's actually cheaper to make that complex circuit I described than it is to put in that big transformer. Now on my old R30 or A30, something like that, which was my first amateur radio store-bought power supply, the thing was about this high, weighed about 35 pounds, and it was all that transformer. And that would be the size of an isolation transformer if there were one, but there isn't one. So, you know, you're going to have to prove me wrong. And I think even if you go to the handbook and look at the diagrams in there, you've got that same thing. You're going to convert it to whatever the DC voltage is coming out of that first rectification. And then you do your switching, sometimes called chopping, and so on. I've been through that enough now. Okay. So Ham Radio Explorer, well, if I made enough mistakes like that to lead people astray, there's two ways you can fix something. You can just put an overlay on it and say what I really meant to say was this, or I can re-record it. And the problem with re-recording it is that it was recorded ad-lib, so it would come out entirely differently otherwise. Therefore, what I should have to do is create a transcript, edit the transcript, re-record it, and you see we're talking a lot of time. The other option is to just give in to the temptation to just delete it and be done with it. Don Z, good evening from northern Twin Cities, Minnesota. Getting our first snow in over a month tonight, and when all is done should have more snow than fell thus far this season. Well, good. I hope you get that, KC0DWZ. We are having a problem through the nation of areas with way too much rain and areas with way not enough rain. Last year in Colorado, we had a pretty big snowpack. This year in Colorado, we're running a little behind. Now, unfortunately, the Colorado River Basin drains most of western Colorado. Okay. And on down into Utah and so on, and dips down into Arizona and so on. Comes back up to the Hoover Dam and then down into the Imperial County, or Imperial area of California, which is, by the way, as flat as Nebraska. I have been to both. Anyway, it's a hugely agricultural area, some of the most productive farmland in the nation. And we talk about, oh, agriculture stealing all our water. Well, guess what they're doing with it? They are growing the food we eat. So two and two together, people. They need the water. So they need the nitrogen fertilizer too. It is estimated that if the Bosch-Haber process for extracting nitrogen directly from the air and making ammonia with it had not been invented and was not still invented now, the Earth's population would be about half what it is right now. Because the nitrogen fertilizer, which usually comes in the form of anhydrous ammonia, which just simply means ammonia without any water in it. Anhydrous is a fancy way of saying no water. That is what causes that. That was the basis of the Green Revolution back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, was nitrogen-based fertilizers. Now, do they have drawbacks? Is the runoff necessarily healthy? Of course not. Everything has unintended consequences. But the intended consequence here was to feed the world. And the Haber-Bosch process has created, and it's created something for me too. I have a little portable oxygen concentrator. It uses the Haber-Bosch process to pull nitrogen from the air, which it then discards, and then it keeps what remains, which is mostly oxygen, and sends it to me at night. So I get the waste product. The waste product of the Haber-Bosch process is oxygen and the other 1% of stuff that's in the atmosphere. We are between nitrogen and oxygen, that's 99% of air. All the other stuff that's in there is quite a soup of particles. Okay, so Ham Radio Explorer, thank you for pointing that out to me. If I have, I'll go back and review the video, and if I can't stand it, I'll kill it. And we'll schedule it in for another pass. Okay, John Zed, good evening. Oh, we did that. More snow. Hey, Dave, Anthony Becerra, just popping in for a moment. Hope you are well. I am, except for this stupid cough. 3 weeks. I had a new nurse today. He was saying, so how long have you had this cough? And I said, about 3 weeks. So a couple minutes later, he says, now how long have you had this cough? I said, about 3 weeks. And a few minutes later, how long have you had this cough? 3 weeks, maybe. So anyway, Anthony, thank you. Phil M. Couple in Colorado had Dave. What is your opinion of the rotatable dipole antenna? Thanks from La Junta, Colorado, W0 JFK. That's an interesting call sign you've got there. When JFK was president, John F. Kennedy was president, I was a kid, and they had an opportunity that the JFK prefix came up in Glendale, California, where we lived, and at that point, you had to get new license plates every year. And so I tried to persuade my mom to go get a JFK license, because as a child, I was so enamored with this president, and he was so vigorous, so charming. And however, my mother was an ardent Republican, and she wouldn't have JFK on her car. So she ended up coming home with JFP. And I was so disappointed. Anyway, JFK, you've got a famous call sign there. Rotatable dipole antenna is, in my humble opinion, a bit of a marketing gimmick. If you look at a perfect dipole at a perfect height in air, the end, and I'm talking about over real ground, the end is about 6 dB down. So if you rotate it, the most you're going to get is in this unit. You go from S8 to S9, back to S8, back to S9. It is so subtle a change that it will be hard to tell when you have peaked the rotation of the dipole. My personal experience with dipoles is that it's really hard to tell that the dipole has any directionality at all. And so I would not spend the money on a rotatable dipole. If you already have, fine, enjoy it. Save the rotator for when you want to put up your hex beam. But I don't see much point in rotating a dipole. It's just the difference between off the end or off broadsides is not that much. If you are in the middle of the U.S., string it north-south, then you'll get a little bit extra to east and west. If you're on the west coast, make your broadside point at Europe, and you'll pick up most of the rest of the United States with it. If you're on the west coast, you can send your broadside to Asia, or send your broadside to the east coast. Take your pick. I'm almost willing to bet if you had two dipole antennas, each with a different coax, and you sit there flipping the switch back and forth between the two and looking at the result on your spectrum display, you would be hard-pressed, really hard-pressed, to tell a difference. So I think the rotatable dipoles market is people who intend to grow into a beam, and we'll see, what happens with that. I'm getting so many texts. Oh, this is my sister. We have a party line, me, 4 sisters. We have a party line that you text one, you text them all. And if you text one, you're going to see ding, 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 coming right down the line like that. So, but we put that in place when my mother died, and it turns out that I didn't have a text plan with my phone at the time, and so I had to get a text plan, and then we used it extensively. My sisters are great users of texts. I don't really like them because I hit like 6 letters at a time when I try and tap something out. So I usually dictate what I want my text to be. That's interesting. Voice to text to whatever. Okay, let's see. Anyway, my opinion on a rotatable dipole is that you're going to put some money into it and not get much in return in terms of directivity. I just put the dipole up. But if you do go ahead, you're going to get used to the idea of rotating your antenna for best performance, which is a good thing. Glenn K. Hello, Dave and Augies from KE0OG, Glenn, in New York State's Lower Hudson Valley. Dave, since you read my question on episode 1054 about installing a new general station, I am on the air. All right. Good for you. I'm glad you're on the air. And let's see, this is Von Ziegels. He put in the $10 that we looked at earlier. And this is his 5th super chat on the live stream. From Don, K6CD. Warren Baker, hi Dave and all Augies from Chattanooga. WA4BAK, Eric. Hello, Dave and fellow and friends. N0EZX from Hastings, Minnesota. White stuff falling. Yes, it's spring now. Makita Brooks having a late one here in the UK. So it is 1:30 in the morning in the UK right now. We go to British summertime on the last day of the month. That'll help a bit. Thanks for all the wealth of information, and this is best wishes from 2 Echo 0 Lima Victor Golf. And Clint, KI5ZIF, says hello. Tim McIlwraith, hi from Sydney, Australia, so the other side of the world. And it's tomorrow. Well, it's tomorrow in London, too. Hi from Sydney, Australia, where it's 72 and cloudy this Friday morning. Would 2 or more identical antennas some feet apart connected at the receiver increase the signal strength for medium wave DX? The answer is, the first rule of antennas is that everything affects everything. You can phase 2 identical antennas to point the signal that way, that way, that way, or that way. And if you can do phase differences other than 90 degrees, you can actually point it anywhere in between. Now, if you put a regular vertical in place and feed it normally, and you put a somewhat longer pole a little ways away from it, that'll act as a reflector, and your signal will kind of tend to go that way. If you put a shorter pole, that will act as a director, and your signal will go kind of that way. Okay, so there's two ways to do this. Identical antennas that are phased. By phased, I mean the phase angle, if you've got one you're feeding right away, you're feeding the other 90 degrees off because you've got a 90-degree extra piece of feed line. It's the length of feed line that turns the wave over 90 degrees. Yes, you can do that. Now, in the antenna book from the league, and I'm sure you've got an equivalent there in Australia, you can do multiple things with it. If you've ever noticed, the military has these flat-faced radars, and they're sometimes turning. But in fact, they can point a beam anywhere they want, not only up and down, but sideways, mostly sideways. And they can put a beam anywhere they want. And that's the nice thing about the agility of a phased array radar. You don't have to wait for it to sweep around on you. You can go boing, 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 boing. You can be tracking something while you're searching in other areas, and so on. But to do that requires a device to delay the phase of a signal by a precise number of degrees, or less than a degree. The pause radars just sit completely motionless, and yet they're covering the whole sky. So, yes, you can play with phasing. There's all kinds of fun things you can do with phasing. And you don't have to limit yourself to 2 antennas, or 4, or 20. You can do all kinds of things to change the direction of the beam, the size of the beam, whether it's narrow, wider, practically omnidirectional, whatever you want. Now, if you're just using verticals, you're not going to be able to get a vertical. You get the horizontal like this. So you get an azimuth rather than an elevation. If you want the elevation, then you've got to start phasing up. Okay, let's see. Makita Brooks with the 10 pounds. Again, thank you. Leo says, I'm considering paying for the print subscription for QST or one of the other ARRL publications. If you're going to pick one, I would pick QST. Because if you need to read something in one of the others, you can always go online and look at it there. Okay, because your regular ARRL subscription gives you online access to all 4 magazines at the same time. I personally prefer, because I'm old-fashioned, reading print. This is Electric Radio, which just arrived. Although, if you look at it, the iPad is perfectly sized to lay in bed and read on the side. Now, the problem being that I've got this issue here. If you look at this right here and you turn it to lay it over on its side, how do you keep it from turning? If I'm going to lay on my side, I want my book to be on its side too. Well, the secret, if you just kind of drag down from here in the corner, you'll see this little circle with a lock on it. That's the rotation lock. And I've got that on, so if I'm reading in bed, if I'm even upside down, whatever, the print is oriented the way I want it. This is not too bad to read in bed. QST is a little big, so I read it on this in bed. But, of course, electric radio, the thought of coming out electronically would give these people cardiac arrest, I'm sure. So, plus, I like the smell of newly printed stuff. Okay. Apollo, I'm jealous. I hope to experience Dayton one day. We'll make it a bucket list item. It's big. Last year there were 33,000 people there. Okay, greetings, Dave and the Augies from the cold country, from Victor Echo 3 NVY. Apollo, darn it, you talked me into it. Let's go, yeah. Jeff says Queen Elizabeth wasn't very tall, so a real queen size would be too small for you, laughing out loud. My wife and I have a king size bed. When we were first married, she wanted to use her bed, which was queen. That lasted about 3 nights. And we went to my king. The reason is, at that time, of course, we were had never slept together before our marriage, being a good Mormon boy. And there just wasn't room in there for both of us. So now it's actually kind of fun, because when you're in a queen size bed, you can't avoid each other. So little easier to cuddle up and just have a good night. And we kind of enjoy that. Okay, let's see. Hi, everybody. KC6ZWM. Greetings from Alvarado, Texas, USA. Been raining here most of the day. Thanks, Dave, for all of your advice and hamming, and God bless. Well, thank you. Okay, I lost my place there. Okay. Leo says, I certainly understand that RVs are considerably more affordable, but if I ever got into that, I'd prefer to go with a bus conversion, probably an MC8 or MC9. I've seen people do conversions of school buses. Those are fairly common. For some reason, the RV parks all forbid them. I guess because some of them haven't been done very well. I saw one that was done by a YouTuber that I follow who does, let's see, paramotoring. And he painted his blue with a dull satin finish. And I'm going, you don't paint vehicles with dull satin finishes. Make that thing shine. But he doesn't listen to me, so he probably makes a lot more money than I do anyway. So Leo says, I likely feel this way on account of my being a third-generation Greyhound guy. Well, yeah, the big RVs, the expensive ones, the ones that are 300,000 and up, are all basically on a Greyhound-style bus chassis. They're very high-end. I was in Quartzsite at the RV show looking at some of these super expensive RVs. And I happened to mention to another couple that was in there, this is the kind of RV that you sell your house in order to buy, and then you live on the road. He says, well, that's what we did 10 years ago. Our house would have been worth a fortune today, and our 10-year-old motorhome is basically worthless. Now what do we do? I said, I don't have an answer for you. So, yeah. Okay, ZL2TW Stewart says hi from Blenheim, New Zealand. I've visited Tucumcari, set for rawhide, on 66 in New Mexico. And I would say that the climate there was probably very different from the climate in New Zealand, which, as I understand it, is a very green setting and a lot cooler. Okay, let's see real quickly here. Doug Dry, hello to all Augies from Doug, KD4NC in Kennesaw, Georgia, 75. Almost time to start putting up a new antenna, yes. Okay, I'm going to do something, and I ask you to bear with me. okay, I need to step out for a moment. And then when I come back in, we will get on the air. Okay? Can you bear with me for that? And I'll be right back. Thank you for your forbearance. Okay. Yeah, the clock up here. I love my clock. This is the clock. You can't see it real well from down here. But it's a wall clock, pretty nice one. And I try and keep it running and all that. So now I'm going to turn this over this way and turn it down so we can see what we're doing. Let's see if we can find a frequency. Is UHF beam. Oh, it doesn't work. Is this frequency in use? Is this frequency in use? This is 7214. Oops, it didn't go. 7214 kilo. Hertz. 7214 kilohertz. Okay. This is Dave Casler, KE0OG, having a little net here with the people on my not-for-profit live stream and seeing what we can put together. It's currently 0149 and we're on 7210. So at the start of this, I'd like to ask if there's anybody who would like to talk to KE0OG. This is KE0OG, QRZ. I don't hear anything. Is this? This is KE0OG looking for people from the live stream. And we're on 7214 kilohertz. If anybody would like to join this little net, please come now. This is KE0OG, QRZ. Hello, hello. Watts. Hello, hello. SWR is crazy. SWR is crazy, crazy high. Hello, hello. Oh, there, that's much better. I had a cable halfway disconnected. This is Kilo Echo Zero, Oscar Golf. QRZ? Kilo Alpha 8 Golf India Mike. Apologies for the delay. You've got a nice 5x9 signal in here. I just sent a QSL card to you today, and thank you for coming back. Give us your name and a little bit about your station. Go ahead.
Roger, Dave. Kilo Echo 0OG. This is Kilo Alpha 8 Golf India Mike. Name here is Bill Dave. Bravo India Lima Lima QTH is Northern Wisconsin. I am running a ICOM 7300 with 100 watts of power into a DX Commander vertical. Back to you.
Oh, very good. I've got a DX Commander too. I put it up to test it. It's now laying on the ground, but it's still all assembled and ready to go with all the radials. So thank you very much. I'm going to say best wishes to you and turn it back to you for a final, and then I'll say 73. So back to you for a final.
Roger, Dave. This is KE0OG. I am saying 73. Thanks for another contact, and you have a great evening, and hope you make a lot of contacts tonight. Watching me on the live stream. 73, Dave.
73, and thank you very much. This is Kilo Echo Zero, Oscar Golf, QRZ. The November 4 station? Who was the November 4 station? Okay, I got November 4 Zulu. Can you give me the rest of the suffix?
Hotel, Mexico.
November 4 Zulu Hotel Mexico. When I do hear your voice, it's coming through pretty clearly. I'll give you a 5x5 tonight. And name here's Dave, of course, and I'm in southwestern Colorado, operating a 7300 into a vertical. So back to you. Tell me about your station and tell me your name. Go ahead. Okay, and I'm sorry, I was not able to copy your name.
Roger, Dave. Well, I'll say 73, but conditions are pretty bad here in Western North Carolina. And November 4 Zulu Hotel, Mexico.
Okay, very good. Thank you, and 73 to you. And have a good week, and thank you for being on the live stream. This is KE0OG, QRZ.
John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Okay, we saw you earlier. Give me your prefix again.
Whiskey 0 from La Junta, Colorado, Roger.
Oh man, you're barely just over the horizon. What's your name again?
The name here is Bob Baker, Ocean Baker. I've tried several times to get on your live stream and was following along and heard you get on this one, so I thought I'd give you a try. 7-3.
Okay, well, it worked really, really well. Before you run, tell me just a little bit about your station. By the way, you're a solid 5'9" in here. Tell me a little bit about your station. Go ahead.
Roger. You're 5'9" plus 10 here. I've got myself a Yaesu FT991 Alpha. I did put in a question about rotatable dipoles on the live stream, but haven't heard anything from you yet. And I'm only running 100 watts. Actually, I'm only doing 98 out of a G5 RV, Roger.
Well, very good. Bob, I appreciate that. I did see your question, and I did talk a little bit about rotatable dipoles. my personal feeling on them is that I don't think it's going to give you a lot of difference as you rotate it. In theory, up to 1 S unit, but well, give it a try and give you a little experience to get you ready for your first beam. So, Bob, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'll turn it back to you for a final, and then I'll say 73s.
Thanks a lot, Dave. Appreciate your input. So it's going to be a mostly unrotatable. Try to be under, I guess. I've got a tower at 65 feet, but living here in Lahana, I've got a mountain just to my east. So it's amazing how I do so well in Lithuania and so on. But anyway, 7-3, it's always a pleasure, and I've been following you forever. And so have a blessed day and many contacts. We will chat back with you again, hopefully. And I'll put you on the QRZ page. 7-3.
Well, 73, and appreciate talking to you. You know, try an experiment. Go outside, up at the height of your tower, so stand on your roof. Look at the mountains near you, and use a theodolite or something, and measure the elevation in degrees above where you are. And I will bet you will find that those mountains are lower than you think you are. I'm going to guess 3 to 5 degrees, and your antenna is going to shoot way over the top of that. So I'm not surprised you can get into Eastern Europe. So very good, Bob. Thank you very much for following me. Your FT991A is sounding great tonight. I'm going to say 73 to you, and then I'm going to go QRZ and see if we can talk to some other people.
7-3, Dave. Whiskey 0 JFK is QRZ.
This is KE0OG, QRZ. Let's see, I think I caught Kilo Alpha 5, Papa Mike Victor. Was that correct? Hi, Paul in Oklahoma. Tell us a little bit about your station there.
That has a preamp board in it, so it's powered by the radio. It also has an equalization bass and treble on the board, so I can adjust that without changing the EQ in the radio. And then I'm running 100 watts straight out to a 160 meter full wave loop.
That loop, that 160 meter full wave loop, is gargantuan. And I had an 80 meter full wavelength loop, and I could get on all bands above it, and it's quite an interesting antenna. So good deal there, good deal on the 7300. And the D104, I've got one sitting up on my shelf behind me here that I've got wired up to go with an old Yaesu FT101B, the original FT101 Bravo. And it works just great. So thank you very much, Paul. Here, I'm going to turn it back to you for a final and say 73.
QSL Dave, this microphone probably isn't the best rag 2 microphone, but it sure seems to cut through a pileup. Anyways, we'll let you go back to the stream. KE5OG, KE0OG, K5PMV.
Okay, very good. 73. And this is KE0OG, QRZ. Whiskey 9 Mike Whiskey. Here's Kilo Echo 0 Oscar Golf. Name's Dave in southern Colorado, and running 100 watts to vertical. So back to you.
You're 5'9" in the red, and long-time follower of the YouTube channel. There's a lot from you, Dave. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, and thank you for telling me about your station, and I'll get a QSL card out your way. And so I'll send it back to you for a final, and then I'll say my 73s.
All right, Dave. Thank you very much. Like I said, I appreciate it. I say long-time subscriber. I've only been a ham for just over 2 years now. That being said, I've been subscribed the whole time. So as far as my amateur radio career is concerned, or hobby lifespan is concerned, you've been a part of it all the time. So love the videos, keep it up. The study guides are great, live streams are great, and so are the radio guys. So appreciate what you're doing. Keep it up, and thanks for coming back to my call. Pleasure getting you in the log. KE0OG from Whiskey 9 Mike Whiskey, 73 days.
Whiskey 9 Mike Whiskey 73 to you. And this is Kilo Echo Zero Oscar Golf. QRZ.
Kilo 7 Echo Lima Juliet.
Kilo Echo 7 Lima. And there was a Juliet in there somewhere. Come again. Kilo Echo 7 Lima.
It's Kilo 7 Echo Lima Juliet. My name is Eric, Northeastern Oregon.
Okay, Eric. And it's 0201 now. And Oregon. Oregon. I had when I was in the Air Force, there was a airman who was from Oregon, and he wore a t-shirt once that said, "Oregon is the state of being waterlogged." Are you in that part of Oregon?
I'm on the eastern side, so I'm definitely away from the weird spot there, Dave.
Okay, yeah, well, you know, everybody there has water on the brain, so you can kind of expect that. Actually, I've been to Portland several times, and the downtown is just beautiful. I don't think I've seen a prettier city. So down south of downtown, there's a big hotel complex. It's kind of old, and that's what I was in because that's all we could afford. So anyway, I was with IBM doing some work for the Forest Service at the time. So nice to meet you, Eric. Tell us a little about your station.
Alright, KE0OG from K70LJ. Very good, Dave. The station that I'm running is Flex 6400. Driving an Ameritron Alpha Lima 82. Roughly doing about 800 watts DEP into an 80 meter loop, horizontal loop. That's about 65 feet off the ground there.
Well, I congratulate you on getting that loop 65 feet off the ground. You must have some trees that can do that. I had an 80 meter full wavelength horizontal loop, but I could only get it up about 20 to 25 feet. And so most of my 80 and 40 meter signals just went straight up. So there it goes. So Flex 6400, that's a pretty nice radio. I'll turn it back to you for a final, and then I'll say 73.
Very good there, Dave. I was pretty fortunate. I have the trees to hang up the loop, and I have access to a bucket truck, so I made the installation really simple. Getting the pulleys up there on the tip of the trees there, and getting all my rope and to take the loop up and down whenever I need to service it. And if not, I can just go grab the bucket truck there to service it. But it was a pretty easy install. Anyways, there, Dave, thanks again for picking me up. And we'll take 73. I just wanted to say you were 5'9" plus over here in Oregon, and Kilo Echo Zero Oscar Golf K7ELJ.
K7ELJ, you're 5'9" here too. Just breaking that a little bit, about 5 over. And very good. So I'm glad it's working for you. So I'm going to say 73 to you, and I'll get a QSL card out your way. And I'll say 73. And QRZ, this is Kilo Echo Zero Oscar Golf, KE0OG, QRZ. QRZ from Kilo Echo Zero Oscar Golf. Okay, there was a November 0 station. I think it was November 0 Echo something. Could you come again, please?
November 0 Echo Zulu X-ray.
November Zulu Echo. No, November 0 Echo Zulu X-ray. And the name here is Dave, located in southwestern Colorado, 100 watts to vertical. And so Tell me about yourself. November 0 Echo Zulu X-ray. Kilo Echo 0 Oscar Golf.
Yes, I'm going to be watching your live stream. I appreciate you letting me in here tonight.
Okay, that kind of got lost in the noise a little bit. Tell me your name again. In Minnesota. Okay, very good. And I got the Echo Romeo in your name. Is it Aaron? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes. Name is Aaron. Echo Romeo India Charlie.
Okay, very good. Well, very good. And you're about the readability is a problem because of the static. There's a lot of static QR Nancy and a little bit of QRM. I think we ended up on top of somebody. So thank you very much. I'll turn it back to you for a final, and then I'll save my 73s.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I'm losing you with a lot of QRM. Channel up. But yeah, that it's calling here in Minnesota. I appreciate let you get back to it. Thanks, Dave. From N0.
Okay, very good. I'll say 73. And also QRZ is anybody calling me. This is Kilo Echo 0 Oscar Golf. QRZ, this is Kilo Echo 0 Oscar Golf for our Thursday evening live stream, non-monetized live stream. Anybody calling on this net? Go ahead.
Kilo 8 Whiskey Sierra.
Okay, I got the Whiskey Sierra. What's your prefix, please? Okay, I think you said Kilo 8 Whiskey Sierra. Name here is Dave. Delta Alpha Victor Echo. I'm in southwestern Colorado, and we're on the weekly live stream right now. So tell me about yourself, your name, and where you're located.
My name is Bill Bravo India Lima Lima, and I'm in Southwest Ohio.
Well, if you're in southwest Ohio, you're primed for Dayton. That's coming up soon, and it is my intent to make it to Dayton this year. I did not last year, and I want to this year. So we'll see what we can do. Tell me a little bit about your station. Go ahead.
Dave, I'm running an AT&T 920 solar radio, and I want to
Okay, very good on the 920. Sounds good. So I'm going to turn it back to you for a final, and I'll say 73s after your final.
Dave, it's a real pleasure to talk to you. I talked to you once at Dayton, and I look forward to seeing you again. This is Kilo 8 Whiskey Sierra. Back to you.
Very good, Bill, and I will say 73s and look for you at Dayton. I say the place that I will be with the most frequency would probably be around the ARRL area. They've got a booth set up where they talk to YouTubers, and I might just park there for a while. So we'll see you at Dayton, and have a good week. So 73 to you, Bill, and I'll turn it open here, QRZ. This is Kilo Echo 0 Oscar Golf. The Alpha Charlie station.
Alpha Charlie 3,
Alpha Charlie 3 Echo Kilo. Very good. I think you said your name, but could you come back with that? Go ahead. Okay, well, very good. I talked to a lot of people with the 7300. That's what I'm operating on right now myself. So I'm going to turn it back to you for a final, and then I'll say my 73s. Go ahead.
Very good. I'm going to say 73s. Dave, and looking 5-9 Alpha 23, aircraft Kilo, clear with KE0OG.
Good night, and thank you very much. 73. So let's see, I got to turn the page here. This is a page full of contacts. It's now 0211. This is Kilo Echo Zero Oscar Golf, QRZ.
Kilowatt 6, kilowatt Yankee.
Kilowatt 6, kilowatt Yankee. Nice strong signal in here tonight. Go ahead, tell me about yourself.
Hey, Dave, this is James up in Boise, Idaho. Actually, just heard you on the air here and wanted to jump in. You're one of my favorite YouTubers out there. You've been pretty helpful going through your videos to get my station set up. I was in the industry for a few years and then got out of it with school and work, and life caught up with me, and then just got back into it and built a dipole today, and it seems like it's working pretty good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it seems to be. And James, there in Boise, I appreciate your calling me tonight. I talked to somebody from southern Idaho today who's interested in buying my airplane, so hopefully I might have a sale. I keep getting nibbles, but no sale. So anyway, James, it's been a pleasure to talk with you. I'm going to turn it back to you for a final, and then I'll say my 73s. K6, KY, KE0OG.
All right, well, thanks a bunch, Dave. Yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, good luck getting that airplane sold. I've been looking for an airplane myself for several months. It's pretty tough out there right now trying to find an airplane that's to do everything that I want. So I'll find one of these days. But 73, Dave, thanks a bunch for coming in. I sure appreciate it. And thanks for everything you do today. Greatly appreciate it, my friend.
73, James, very much. This is Kilo Echo Zero Oscar Golf. QRZ. Kilo Echo Zero Oscar Golf. Oops. Not supposed to change frequency when I'm transmitting. This is Kilo Echo Zero Oscar Golf calling CQ for the weekly live stream. Is anybody there? Go ahead. Whoa. I think we're going to draw a line under it right there because that was a really loud signal, almost identically on frequency. So let's turn this thing back here and see what we've got going. All right, get that thing back up so all of my head gets in. And that was fun. Someone on 7216 is running. I'm sorry, we'll have to try a slightly different. Oh, that's right. In the UK, you can't go above 7.2. The problem is that the general band in the US, which I'm trying to use, goes up to 71, 75. So I'll try next time. We'll go a little lower. So it'll still be in the general band, so we'll catch all the US guys, but we might be able to catch somebody in the Region 1 or Region 3. We're in Region 2 here in the US. So that was fun. That was really fun. I like to talk to people there. So yeah, there was a really loud station there. Okay, Dave looks much younger calling CQ. Yes, I feel much younger. Okay, let's see. Dave, happy to make contact on 40 meters. Okay, Jeff, K4ZHM. Did I talk to K4ZHM? Okay, K4ZHM. No, N4ZHM. And I did copy it correctly. Okay. Very bad, yeah, Jeff. And let's see, a quick and dirty way I can imagine to fix by broken spreaders is to find some kind of 3/8-inch pipe, rigid pipe wrap due to wrap around the brakes. Okay. By the way, I got a new antenna from MFJ. It's their brand new one. They just announced it in the latest QST. And it's for beginners and appropriately priced. It's 40, 20, 15, and 10. And so the classic bands for classic price is about $250, something like that. It is up. I have done the initial testing. My assistant was able to build it by himself, okay, without me hovering over him. And so it is simple to build, obviously. The main midsection of it that has all the coils and stuff is already assembled. That's unusual for an antenna these days to come with the major segment already assembled, but it is. Okay, so I will do that. So I'm going to say 73 at this point because we're over time. Thank you so very much, and thank you so very much for those who participated on the air. That's fun. We'll try and pick a frequency next week with with less interference, and we were on 7218. So we'll try it down above 7175 and below 7200 next time. So thank you all very much. I love you guys. I really, really do. And thank you for returning the love. I appreciate it. So until we next meet, 73.